is over. It's over.
Bottom two, the bags are full for Joey Bats. Jose Bautista goes yard for his 5th career Grand Slam. It's suddenly 6-3 Toronto. Duffy was done after 2.
When it's over.
Indians in total control. They lead 7-0. So now we check out Kluber. Out number 1 of the 5th is Miguel Sano. Out number 1 of the 6th is Eduardo Escobar. Kluber had a no-hitter through 6 2/3, but Joe Mauer says there will be no today. The clean single in the 7th to break things up.
Baby, it ain't over till it's over.
Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
German? Forget it, he's rolling.
And it ain't over now. Because when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Who's with me? Let's go! Come on!
So many tears I've cried, so much pain inside.
Yeah, a lot of tears falling right now for Twins fans, it seems. Since the All-Star break, it's been a free fall. What has happened? It's a Twins Tuesday. Here's what's happening. It's a beautiful day out here in Floyd's in Victoria. The sun is shining here on a Twins Tuesday. You still have time to come on out here and join the people who are here already. The thousands of people on Floyd's. Yeah, they're out there. They're out there. As well as our all-star lineup of Twins Tuesday experts. Let's throw around the horn. I'm Rusty Gatenby. To my right.
Hey, Patrick Donnelly here with you.
Yeah, Brandon Warren right here.
Bartender Colin, live and in person.
It's pretty much over, isn't it? I mean, John Belushi, he got me going for a second.
Well, I'm wondering if that little pep talk is what's going on in the clubhouse right now, because it's all over Twitter that the Twins are having the dreaded players-only meeting. So so is that Tory going up and down, yelling at people about Pearl Harbor and the Germans, or who do you think the loudest voice will be in that?
Joe Mauer.
Joe Mauer.
Guys.
Don't you know, guys, we got to get going again.
We kind of stink right now. Mom said that we need to hit the ball better.
Remember what I did in Toronto, that hit I got? We should do that more often.
Guys, Chevy sales are down. We need to pick it up.
God, we are depressed, aren't we? We've started off, we're right out of the gates with our Mauer.
I know there was one fan who he knew right away, even though it was a fantastic June, even an incredible July. Denny Green, he knew right away.
What we thought they were. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, they were never as good as their record indicated earlier this year. They're also not as bad as they've played the last week to 10 days either. You know, somewhere in the middle. And if they wind up a 500 team, gosh, that's still going to be fantastic.
Are they below 500 right now?
Yes, they are.
One game under, eh?
But if you would have said that they'd be around 500 in mid-August, early August, whatever you want to call it, when they were convening in Fort Myers this spring, I think people would have been shocked, stunned, and
in a good way,
uproariously happy.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, where we've kind of reverted to the doom and gloom, and here comes another 90 losses. I don't think that's going to happen either.
It's just been such a long time since this team was this far in the dumps. You know, May 1st, the last time that they were. I mean, think about what we were doing and talking about on May 1st. That was the last time they were one game under 500. So, you know, your casual fan's going to overreact a little bit.
How bad is their slump right now? Like 16-4.
We've got, since, what is it, July 1st, they've got the worst record in Major League Baseball, or the AL. Right. The AL, I think it is. Something like 16-20 something.
14-20 since July 1st.
Right.
Well, that's not,
so it's a little bit more than that. I think I heard a stat. I mean, maybe it was the middle of June, kind of when they started to slow
23-37 since.
That's the one.
Well, it's been a horrible week. We can go that far.
Oh,
25-47. I can't do math.
Since last Twins Tuesday, it is suckety sucked.
Yeah. I believe I warned you last Tuesday that they were heading into their personal house of horrors, otherwise known as Rogers Center in Toronto, where they never win. And, of course, they promptly went out and got swept. and gave up a lot of runs. And then we went to Cleveland and gave up even more runs, 12 per game, right? They gave up 36 runs in 3 games.
The most runs given up in a 3-game series in Major League Baseball this year, given up to the Cleveland Indians.
And that was with your big 3 starters. That was supposed to be, Santana and Hughes and
Gibson.
Gibson's tonight. Who else got lit up out there?
I can't remember.
Pelfrey. Oh,
yeah.
Pelfrey.
Excuse me.
All right, maybe that part wasn't so surprising, but the other two.
Yeah.
Well, let's get the good news out of the way. Our buckets of Coors Light have arrived.
Yeah.
So we once again will have Coors Light for all you guys out there in Floyd's enjoying the sunshine on the patio on a Twins Tuesday. I see you guys eyeing up our Coors Light. That's right. It's free. You can have one if you come up and ask a question. And then, bartender Colin, the grill, will it be going again?
Absolutely. We got our grilled wings on the patio. Justin's kicking up the grill right now. His new sauce of the week is going to be honey soy. It's going to be a little different. I haven't tried it yet. He's toning it down because for a few weeks in a row there, he was getting a little spicy, a little carried away. So he's toned it down to honey soy.
A few 911 calls were happening.
That's right. Won't need a glass of water after these wings, I don't believe.
You'll need a Coors Light.
Exactly.
Well, that sounds good. Anyway, what's the going rate on those then? What's the price?
The price on the wings it's $11 a dozen. You can get 2 dozen for $18, or I believe it's 3 dozen for $27. So the more you get, the better. But we've got lots of specials going on at Floyd's. We've got a Cajun chicken fettuccine. It's got andouille sausage and shrimp on it.
Wow.
I know that Patrick and Brandon usually like it when we do our pasta specials. We've had pretty good luck so far, so we're doing that. And then we've also got our juicy Lucinda. It's kind of actually... Lucinda, right. It's a little bit of a twist on
Lucy.
It's
Western?
That's right. It's got jalapenos and American cheese, and it's got a little bit of salsa on top of it. It's kind of a Floyd's twist, and we actually have a kind of a niche following for the Lucinda.
Tex-Mex Lucy. I
Right.
like it. Yeah, that sounds good.
Brandon, what was your order? I heard you overheard you taking an order. What are you going to be having?
I'm doing the wings with the Twins Tuesday sauce, the
buffalo sauce.
vaunted
Okay.
Twins Tuesday sauce, inspired by all of us on the show.
Nice. Way to go.
Brandon's been a good guinea pig so far. We're going to let him just go back to doing some buffalo wings, let him take the week off from sampling everything that we come up with here at Floyd's.
Yeah.
Since we're that's all good news, but since we were talking bad news, I heard that Adrian Peterson limped off the field down in Mankato and into the locker room.
Talk about it's over.
Well, I read that it was looking better when he came back.
And I'm not kidding. I heard that.
I know. We heard that
He
too.
came back out with the trainer and it looked a little bit better. But yeah, no, you don't want that happening because you saw how bad it was at first last year when he came out of the gates with Matt Castle at quarterback and no AP, and it was not pretty.
Well, and the hidden talker here is that at least the Twins have been kind enough to wait until Vikings training camp started to fall completely off the deep end. If this
That
would
was
have
nice of them,
if
wasn't
this
it?
would have happened in the end of June or beginning of July, we really would have had nothing to be excited about.
We have been talking about it. It has been a really fun summer to be a Twins fan, but I guess it hurts a little bit more when you're like, I didn't think it was going to happen again. Get our hearts broke. Speaking of injuries, Buxton is recovering from his injury, but will not be returning to the lineup. What's going on there?
So sent him on a rehab stint. I think he played, 2 games before they sent him to AAA?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Took him off the rehab stint, which resulted in actually the Twins cutting Eden Prairie native Nate Hansen, infielder, so that was kind of a bum deal. But, yeah, they just said, look, we're going to take you off the rehab, take you off that. The Major League rehab stint makes you accrue big league service time.
Right.
So procedurally, it made sense for them to take him off there and let him get his feet wet at AAA for a while. I think you'll be seeing him back up in September, but they're going to let him kind of wreck the International League here for a minute and then see what happens after that.
Was he a disappointment thus far? If it's so short, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's too early to say. Did he come out of the gates the way we wanted to see? No, of course not. But he showed a few things, and then he got hurt. So I still think this year gets chalked up in the category of what do we have in this guy, because he can't stay healthy, and if that's going to be an issue going forward, then this franchise is in trouble.
Yeah, if you were healthy, I think he'd still be up.
Yeah. I think as Brandon alluded to, September is going to be a big month for him. I don't foresee. Obviously, depending on what exactly happens with that team at the AAA level and when the season ends for them, we'll definitely be seeing him again. And let's hope he gives us something to be excited about to end the season. I'm just reading right now he's hitting .417 in, I think, 3 games now I've read since he's been at Rochester.
Nice.
So he's hitting the ball well, and, the athleticism is there. If he hits, he's going to find his way back up.
And that's not the only player movement at AAA either. They brought Kenny Vargas up from AA, just crushing down there, and I believe they put shortstop Danny Santana on the disabled list. My reports from Rochester say Danny's been kind of lackluster, lackadaisical down there, not really interested in being a AAA ball player, which is all good and well, except for to be a major league ball player, you got to be pretty engaged at AAA. It doesn't sound like he's wanting to do that. So Doug Bernier is the starting shortstop down in Rochester right now.
Because anytime you can have a 35-year-old shortstop at AAA, you got to jump at the opportunity, right?
Exactly.
What's that? What do you suppose his story is at age 35 still?
He's Crash Davis. He's the Crash Davis of the Twins right now. He's the lifelong minor leaguer, just loves to play, gets a taste of the big league per diem every so often. I mean, how many times has he been up?
Two or three.
Two or three times, just he's an organizational guy. Every organization needs guys like that to fill holes.
Yep.
So he's an organizational guy. He's going to play until his body tells him he can't play anymore, and then I don't know. Maybe he's a coach. Maybe
he's got a website too where he teaches, like he does instructional stuff, and I think they sell equipment and that kind of thing.
It actually sounds like kind of a fun life.
Oh yeah, so he's got a lot of irons in the fire besides playing professional baseball, which means he should be able to transition to post baseball pretty easily, I would say. But he's just a kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Can play all over the infield. Probably could play outfield if you put him out there. But he's not exciting. Fans don't like to see him succeed or get chances, but at the same time, you've got a guy down at AA and Jorge Polanco that everybody wants to see at shortstop. Give the fans what they want.
Yeah.
You mean up here?
Well, or AAA. He's at AA right now because they sent him back after he was up for another couple days.
Right. I read that Polanco is a possible move for the Twins.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is there's just no proof he can play shortstop. He's a second baseman.
What is his? What are his errors? Are they throwing errors? Are they bobbles? What kind of errors is?
They're just like inconsistencies. It's literally a guy who physically can play the position but just can't get it down. I guess, and they're brutal, like really ugly errors is what I've been hearing from firsthand people out in Rochester. It's just not good.
Does not sound like a solution for the Twins.
Well, a lot of times when you got a guy in the lower minor leagues, an infielder especially, who's having problems with errors, a lot of times you can chalk it up, some of that at least, to the crappy fields that they play on.
Right.
And the quality of field obviously improves the higher up you go. So AAA, it's would probably be a little bit of an improvement of the fields for him.
And historically with the Twins, what you've seen with a guy like Polanco, who's got a little bit of a stick, it's a guy that can hit a little bit, but doesn't necessarily field that shortstop position so well. They did with Dozier, they moved him to second. With Plouffe, they will move him to third. Well, the problem is right now you can't do that. While he could contribute with his bat at the major league level, they don't really have anywhere else to stick him because shortstop is what they really need the most, and they just haven't got anybody that can put it all together right now.
I mean, you could try my catcher. We know Patrick's a big fan of the catcher who doesn't buy into framing stats or advanced statistics, so that's another fun talker to get into. Mike Berardino grilled Kurt Suzuki on advanced statistics and how he felt about him. It sounded like he pretty much hated all the statistics that say that Kurt Suzuki's not very good.
Which,
is like every statistic ever.
Pick one.
But he has this reputation of being a defensive guy because I don't know, because once a storyline for a guy develops, it sticks forever. And we saw that with Mauer and his defense. People early on say, "Oh, look at him moving around, blocking balls and throwing people out," and so he was the best defensive catcher ever in people's minds, even as he started going downhill really fast.
The wild card in the conversation, though, is Glenn Perkins is trying to go to bat for Suzuki. Now, I don't know if that's being a good teammate or what, but Perkins is a advanced stats kind of guy, so I don't know if he's just kind of picking his battles and kind of trying to play both sides of the aisle here, or if he genuinely, legitimately believes that Suzuki is a good defensive catcher, which I guess I just don't see it, but maybe you guys differ.
I hate to pile on Glenn Perkins at all, but if Glenn Perkins is going to go to bat for anybody, he should probably start doing it for himself. The way he's been pitching lately, the last thing I'd be worried about is who's catching the ball because it's not getting there.
Did we just see a birthday party come in?
It looks like it.
Do they have little birthday parties here at Floyd's?
Every once in a while, yeah. Earlier in the afternoon, yeah, definitely.
No, Perkins is perfect in his last one save opportunity, so I think it's solved. I know it's a small sample size, but
And so are they going to move Trevor May back into the rotation?
Well, and that's the thing we had listed as Saturday's starter. And so May last worked, I think, on Sunday. If you hold him out for the entire week, you maybe have him throw a little on the side. You could probably do a bullpen game with him or J.R. Graham and they could probably team up combined to throw 6 or 7 innings, and that keeps you in a pretty good spot, especially with a 9-man bullpen, which is just a crazy thing to have to say. But again, you only have 4 starters, so and Tommy Malone can't come off the DL until Sunday, so you got to fill Saturday somehow. It's either a bullpen game with one of those 2 guys starting. Jose Barrios, perish the thought that the Twins might bring that kid up.
No.
Or you just push somebody back or push somebody up like a Kyle Gibson who's going tonight. I don't know. I guess, what do you guys think?
I don't think it's going to be Barrios because, we know they're not going to make the bold move when they can make a milquetoast move. Exactly. But B, I also think if they do bring up Barrios, they'll bring him up and use him in the bullpen because why add so many innings on that guy's arm at this stage of the season?
There's an open 40-man spot right now. You could bring him up, start him on Saturday, shift him to the bullpen with Tommy Malone coming in on Sunday, and when you activate Tommy Malone, you could send out Ryan O'Rourke and then shift Barrios to a swingman relief kind of role. I mean, is that too simplistic? Is that what do you guys think of that?
Well, if we can come up with it, it must be too simplistic.
Right.
That's accurate.
I like the May option the most, mostly because I feel like that's the best step that we're going to have towards getting him back in the rotation. Like we've said, I really like the idea, what he's done in the bullpen. But I do feel like it's a waste of an arm out there right now. With the way the starting staff has struggled right now, and anything they can do to try to get him geared back up towards, plus he's also a guy that needs to be evaluated to some extent. The book is still out on him a little bit, and if you can get him ratcheted back up into the rotation via a spot start and start stretching him out, then that would be the way to see what you've got in him for the rest of the year.
When everyone's saying, oh, he's been so good in the 8th inning, how can you take him out of there? What's more important, the first 6 and 7 innings or the last 2? Look at the last 4 years. You had the back 2 or back 3 innings on lockdown. Casey Fiend was great. Jared Burton was good for a while. Glenn Perkins was just fine. If you can't pitch the first 6, it doesn't really matter what you do in the last 2 or 3.
Right.
And people just seem to have forgotten like the last 4 years and how bad the rotation was. So I'm 100% a proponent of getting Trevor May back in the rotation. And if for any reason he can't regain that command and control that he had, and you've basically ruined his step forward, that's a huge issue for me.
Wouldn't you rather find that on a sub-500 team in September than in March and April on a team next year that should have aspirations of being better?
The rest of the division's getting worse with the exception of, I don't know. I mean, Cleveland maybe. Kansas City's going to lose Alex Gordon unless they sign him to a huge contract in the offseason. They've got a bunch of free agents to be. Cleveland is such a wild card. Chicago's such a wild card. Detroit's getting worse, though. There's no question in my mind. Detroit's getting worse, and the Twins can match up with them moving forward next year. So you have to evaluate some guys now, especially if you fall down the well and get 4 or 5 games under 500, fall out of the race. That's when the evaluation process starts, and it's got to be before September 1st, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree at 100%. It's if they are going to make a move and try to stay relevant, it has to happen now. And I think we all kind of agree that it's unlikely. And, once that happens, that's when you start evaluating, start looking at what you've got for next year.
Well, I saw Roto World say, too, that the Twins were more interested in gaming Buxton's service time than bringing him along to help. And it's like, well, okay, on the surface, a guy that plays crazy defense is really fast. Yeah, he's going to help you. But then you're kind of living in the imaginary world of what position is he going to play. He's not going to play left because Rosario's playing well. He's not going to play center because you're not pushing Hicks off. He could play a little center and you could move Hicks to right, and Torrey Hunter could sit more often. They're not going to do that because
he's been one of their best players this year.
And DH. I mean, who's going to DH? Miguel Sano. You're not moving Sano to third, Plouffe to first, Mauer off.
It just gets back to that old spot. There's one. We have that one body too many for that right field, first base, third base, DH.
And he's not going to out-hit any of those guys.
No.
And the name of the game right now for the Twins is hitting. They need the guy that can hit. So it's not going to happen.
Right. And the original talker was kind of talking about Buxton being sent to AAA, and I know a lot of the fans are up in arms about it because they're viewing it solely as a demotion as opposed to kind of a semi-rehab stint. And the fact of the matter remains that as bad as this Twins lineup has been for the last 2-3 weeks, the outfield is as close to a steady group as we have. Rosario's been a bright spot. Hicks has been much better the last month. And, Torrey Hunter's still not a guy that I'm ready to sit every day yet, spot start. So I'm absolutely okay with the Buxton move. It gives him a chance to build up some confidence down there. And let's see him in September and move forward.
But you're not going to cut Shane Robinson either. I mean, it just looks bad from a PR standpoint with his daughter not doing so well. Same thing that Cleveland has done with Mike Aviles with his daughter at the Mayo Clinic. So sometimes baseball is secondary with some of this stuff. They're not going to bring Buxton up and work with Hicks and Rosario's fourth outfielders. We just got too many bodies right now, and so in September it'll all figure itself out. Somebody will get hurt. They always do.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just going to have to be on the back burner.
Have we pretty much given up the wild card idea?
Well, it's the only thing you can cling to. I mean, the division's out. Johnny Cueto was slicing and dicing for the Royals last night. It's 11, 12 games. So it's not happening in the division. There's just no way. And so the issue then becomes you got to keep up with the Angels or the Astros. You got to keep up with the Yankees or the Blue Jays, and you've got to knock one of those teams completely out of the race. It's not going to happen in Toronto. I think Toronto could be this year's Kansas City in the sense of an upstart.
They beat the Yankees, right?
Right. I think they're an upstart. They might win that division outright. And again, they're nothing like Kansas City last year, but they're the team that nobody saw coming, and they're just going to steamroll everybody, I think.
With that slow pitch softball lineup. I mean, if Josh Donaldson hits a home run in every game like he's been doing for the last week and a half, they're going to win some games.
I mean, that's all he's got to do is keep that up, though.
He's ridiculous.
Right, and the Twins have really, obviously the division's out of play. It's never going to happen. But they've also really stacked the deck against themselves in the wild card simply because, like Brandon said, it's not even just one team you're chasing or two where you're saying, okay, if we get on a really hot run, we can maybe catch them. You have to be on a tear, and you probably need some help now because they've let so many teams jump them in a short amount of time. And let's be honest, there are other teams that are playing well right now.
No, let's not ignore there's teams behind them that can still jump back into the race.
Right.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, I don't even know if
Tampa Bay is amazing.
The team who
They're
sold
still doing
to us for Kevin Jepsen, they sold us Kevin Jepsen, and we're now in a race with them.
They're over 5. They're at 500. They're a half game ahead of the Twins in the wild card. Detroit, if the Twins are going to finish behind Detroit, I'm telling you guys right now, the Twins will finish behind Detroit and maybe Chicago and maybe Cleveland. This Twins team,
they could be headed to last place.
Might finish in last.
That's what I was saying. A week and a half ago, they were in the driver's seat for the wild card.
Yep.
We were all, at least we got the wild card, Maybe we're going to make some moves and try and win the division, but maybe we'll just sit with. But at least we're in the driver's seat for the wild card. Boom, done.
This Texas team has a percentage point lead over the Twins.
Yeah.
Because they're 55 and 55. The Twins are 55 and 56.
And they hit the ball.
And they got Cole Hamels.
And they're coming to town, right? Are we going there?
They're here.
They're here, and actually Cole Hamels was scratched from his start, so the Twins will miss him,
catch a break,
which is a huge break. But when you go out and get a Cole Hamels, you are envisioning staying in the race for the rest of the season and then into the future. I think he's signed for 3 more years after this.
Again, it was just like a week or two ago. We were thinking, what kind of moves can we make to make a run at the division?
This is what happens.
And then it was, at least we're in the driver's seat for the wild card. And now you just said we're going to finish in last place.
This is what happens when I go away and buy a house and leave you guys.
Don't do that again.
I won't. I promise. And you guys
stop buying houses.
And leave you guys to your own vices. And I don't even I don't even check in on you guys. I'm assuming a show happened last week.
It went well.
It did. It was great. We had crowd. We still have free beer up here. 2 buckets of Coors Light. If anyone wants to come and ask a question, you two are way too young. Is that a castle you brought? Is that a toy castle? Is this a birthday party? What is that? Not a castle. What is it?
Looks like a slide.
Yeah, it looks like a slide.
It's a slide. Is this a birthday party you guys are having? Nice.
Lucky.
How old? 41?
For your brother who's 41. He can have a beer. This kid with the blonde hair and the slide, no.
Inadvisable.
I don't even want to see his ID. So how about some good news, or at least good memories?
You have some?
I do. Yeah. It was this day, back in, I believe, 1984, Harmon Killebrew was being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Here's a moment from Harmon.
Harmon Clayton Killebrew Sr. would be very proud today. And I wish he were here. And somehow I know he is. I don't know how these fellows ahead of me kept from being too emotional, because to me this is an emotional experience. I'm thankful to be honored in such a special way by a group of individuals that do an outstanding job, the Baseball Writers of America. I love baseball, and I consider this baseball's greatest honor. Thank you very much.
The killer. How good was he?
Nobody better as a person, as an all-time Twin, I don't think. If all the stories are to be believed, first rate across the board. So, we thought we've had guys like that in the past and found out we were wrong. Nothing's come out that Harmon Killebrew wasn't the absolute best, and it's a lot of pride having him having been a Twin.
Mm-hmm. And he makes a darn good rip beer.
Yes,
even the late Harmon Killebrew, heck of a rip beer down at Target Field.
Absolutely great.
And he played with Mickey Mantles and such, right?
Yeah, he was a peer of Mantle and Maris, and the National League was where it really was at in the '60s with Hank Aaron and Willie Mays and Clemente and Stargell and all those Reds, Frank Robinson, Pete Rose. I mean, there's some amazing bats in the NL, but Harmon was definitely one of the faces of the American League throughout the '60s. And
was he as well known outside of Minnesota? We love him in Minnesota, but you don't hear him in conversation with the Lou Gehrig's.
I think he was underrated because of the batting average. It was the batting average era, the golden era of batting average home runs.
He's in the 500 club.
Yeah, 500 plus home runs, but he was never a big batting average guy, and I think that was a huge thing. And again, to Minnesota, he played in the relative obscurity of Minnesota, and I think a year or two in Washington too didn't really do much for him as a young kid. So, no, I don't think he was as well known outside of Minnesota in that era.
However, he is the only Twin I can think of who had an entire David Letterman show about him.
Yeah.
Letterman had him as the only guest and devoted an entire 60-minute show to Harmon.
What is that with Letterman? Because he also had a big Kirby Puckett moment, too.
The top 10 with Kirby Puckett, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Top 10 nicknames.
I think the Harmon thing was he had Harmon scheduled as a guest, and he got bumped, and he felt bad about it. So he brought him back, invited him back, and made the whole show about him.
Because being an Indiana guy, he related to Midwestern.
I think so. Yeah, I think he liked the small town stuff. Yeah. So he's the only Twin I can think of who had an entire Letterman show. So he was the best. He was fantastic. I'm old, but I'm not quite that old, so I didn't quite see him play. But all the stories that you hear and all the highlights that you see.
I got a couple of chances to meet him. The last time I met him, it was when he dedicated the special field right off 101 in Minnetonka.
I just drove by it today. I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, it was Bennett's field. My son played baseball there. But he had a mission where he made these fields that were accessible to kids with handicaps so they could enjoy the game of baseball. And so I was there for the opening ceremony, did my little interview with him, and it was great. I mean, a good guy. That's where his focus was.
And he died in 2011, right?
I believe so.
That was the beginning of the end for this current batch of Twins too. So things really went south in a hurry and ugly after 1 year at Target Field. You lose your beloved icon, and your team just turns to crap.
We still have Joe Mauer.
Like I said,
it's going to be interesting to see how Joe's treated post-career, because as it stands right now, about the last decade of his career is going to be pretty much mired in ridicule.
Mediocrity.
Yeah.
I mean,
his or the team's.
Even if the team recovers, it's hard to see him being a part of the recovery.
And he was the picture of the golden boy. You know? We knew who he was when he was a junior in high school, and you watched him, and somehow your team ends up with the number 1 overall pick the year that he's coming out. And you had the debate whether or not Pryor or was it Dwan Brazelton could have been better options. Mark Teixeira, right? And it's been well chronicled that there were even local people that thought that we were just being homers by taking him, and for 5, 6 years, 7 years, he looked like we were the geniuses for taking the hometown kid, and it's all just totally spun a 180 on him, and I'm the face of it too. I supported him for a long time. I cannot justify him being in this lineup anymore. It's like our weekly Mauer bashing segment, but what else do you talk about? He's playing first base, and he's the worst hitting first baseman in terms of the advanced power numbers.
We're only paying him $27 million though, so it's wait, what?
And he's batting second or third every night out, so he's right there in the middle of every what you'd hope would be a rally. And we're going to start seeing it. It's going to be eventually they'll move him down, and then he'll start sitting a little bit more, and then who knows? I mean, I don't think he's going to retire anytime soon.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it once they get down towards the tail end of that contract, where what do you do? I mean, and even if he does play out his contract here, are you going to re-sign him? Is he going to take the minuscule amount of money that he's now available for to stay here? I mean, and who's... it's been a meteoric fall for him.
What is he? He's 32?
32. Oh, yeah, 30. I think he just turned 33, right?
Wait, no.
I'm
sorry, 32.
32.
They've got him locked up for 3 more years after this.
After this
so he'll be
season.
35. He'll retire after that, I would think.
You'd think, the thing is, he's going to retire with no accolades when it comes to winning. The numbers are there. The batting championships were there. The MVP was there, but he never got out of the first round ever. I mean, he was not on that 2002 team that made it to the ALCS.
No, in fact, he'd only been drafted just
the year before
that.
I mean, he did make a very fast rise through the minors. I remember reading about how quickly he was tearing apart A-ball and AA and AAA, and he was here in 2003, right, or 4?
4. He never played AAA until a rehab stint.
Right, that's right. So AA, right? Yep. He basically AA was kind of crushing it, and yeah, it's kind of been depressing as a Minnesota kid to see. He at one point in time he was doing the ESPN commercials, and he was our shining beacon for baseball.
Head and Shoulders commercial and all that stuff. We're sneaking up on a break here at Floyd's in Victoria. The patio is sunshiny. Everyone's having a good time. We still have ice-cold Coors ready to give away. We got to give one away to the birthday boy.
Absolutely. Where is he?
He's right there, I believe, pouring a beer himself, 41 years old. The question is, a lot of depressing stuff with the Twins. Should we give up? We have, as we go to break, here is what Rick Astley has to say about that.
Don't let your computer problems drive you mad. We are MacMen, Minnesota.
The term foodie can sometimes come across as a tickle pretentious. BT and Lydia are here to demystify the term and reclaim it for the sake of good food. Their weekly podcast brings in fellow foodies and culture creators from the Twin Cities to talk about all things food. Find this duo only on the Alive and Social Network.
Hey everybody, this is comedian Paul Mercurio, and I'm very excited to say that I packed up my podcast, The Paul Mercurio Show, which wasn't my first choice for a name. My first choice was Go Ahead, Touch It, but apparently that didn't test well. Well, I'm taking my podcast and I'm moving it to the Alive and Social Network, which is weird because I'm neither alive nor very social. I've interviewed a few people you might know, like Sir Paul McCartney. Yeah, that guy. He was in a band or something, I'm not sure. Stephen Colbert, Bob Costas, Jay Leno, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kristen Chenoweth, and many, many more. I've won Emmy and Peabody Awards for my work on The Daily Show. I've had my own Comedy Central special, been on HBO, and I'm excited to be part of the new network. The Paul Mercurio Show is available on iTunes, Android, and available at paulmercurio.com. Listen to my show every week. Every week you will get rich. How? I give you a foolproof method to go out and make $100,000 without ever leaving your couch. Okay, that's a lie, but the podcast, it's good.
The Rusty Gatenby Review is the entertaining show about entertainment from movies, music, and more. Award-winning TV guy Rusty Gatenby and his review is the podcast with the biggest cast in entertainment, part of the Alive and Social Network. You can get that Minnesota connection to Hollywood and beyond any time of the day or night simply by clicking on the RustyGatenbyReview.com. That's the RustyGatenbyReview.com, part of the Alive and Social Network.
Don't give up on us, baby. Don't make the wrong seem right.
Oh, name this artist. Anyone?
Just one night.
Does anyone know who this is? Were you swaying back and forth to this song?
That's worth a beer.
If you can name this artist, we will give you a beer. Come on up here. Take a wild guess.
If it's a good enough comical guess, I think we could give a beer too.
Yeah. This song was big in the 70s. Yeah. This person was a big star in the 70s. It's before everyone's time. Oh, we got a guess? Get into the microphone, sir.
Is that David Soul, please?
It is. That is the correct answer. And how do we know David Soul? He was TV's Starsky and Hutch.
Was he Starsky or was he Hutch?
Yes.
Yes. I never could keep those two straight.
He was the blonde one. He was Hutch.
That was Hutch? All right. Take your word for it.
Give me a beer. Yes, don't give up on us, baby.
You mean Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller weren't Starsky and
No,
Hutch?
they didn't. They did not. They perfected the role, but they did not introduce it.
So Brandon sounds like has given up. Should we be giving up on the Twins this year?
We all gave up on them, I think. You're the last holdout, Rusty.
Yeah, I am.
We're taking the more realistic approach here. And what can we? But one thing we had discussed earlier was what does a good season look like at the end of the year? Can we look back on this if they finish in last place and say there was nothing positive out of this? Can we look back on this if they go 81-81 and say that was awesome? I mean, what do you guys think?
I think within 3 or 4 games in either direction of 500 has to be construed as a huge positive, even if it was a bit of a roller coaster ride. And you can finish last in the division and still win 78 games. For me, that's still a pretty good season.
Right. The idea this year coming into the American League Central was that the Twins were supposed to be the only team that were not going to be contenders in what was supposed to be a deep division. And like you said, if they can stay relevant, stay close to 500, I think at the end of the season, and when everybody's emotions calm down a little bit and you're not thinking the heat of the moment, you'll say this could be the year that they build off of. The first show I was ever on with you guys, Brandon, I told you guys, I said I hope that this team is the 2001 Twins, where the players started to get here and started to develop and actually contribute a little bit, and then the very next year they go out and win the division. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, and there's a little bit of a different dynamic in the AL Central now, but you hope that that's what you're looking at as the beginnings of the next, dynasty, quote unquote, if that's what you want to call the 2000s.
Sign of the times, though. I think that 2001 team won 85 games.
Yeah.
So it's just a different era, too.
And we're really eliminated from playoff contention with a week and a half left in the season, or a week left.
Right.
There was literally no hope toward the end of making the playoffs. It was still a great season. That was the Mariners team that won 100
116.
Yeah, 116.
And,
Cleveland was sick.
Cleveland was awesome. They won 94 or something, and Twins were 9 games out by middle of September.
Yep. So it's as far as giving up, a little bit ashamed to admit that last Tuesday after the show got over, instead of watching the Twins game, I may or may not have driven down to Mankato and checked out a different local sports franchise, and it's becoming more and more tempting. So
you went down there, huh?
Yeah, they look good, and it's always exciting. I like to get down there and just watch the scrimmage, see what's going on, see some of these names you've heard of, guys that you've never seen before they got drafted, and see what they look like in uniform. So I
did the one time I was down there, I interviewed a very young rookie by the name of Randy Moss.
Oh, I remember him.
What was he like to speak to?
I said, if you guys win the Super Bowl, will you let Red McCombs cut your hair?
And his answer?
Probably can't say it on the air, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't the straight cash homie interview?
No.
Years later.
Yeah, it's always fun going down there to Mankato.
Well, it's interesting.
50 years of training camp down there?
Well, we started off the season kind of talking about, at some point we talked about what it was like to go down to spring training and watch the Twins. And, there's, as much as that's become a huge thing to go out of town and visit different destinations, being Fort Myers,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that go down there and watch those Vikings practices, and you're really not watching anything that cool. You stop and sit down, you go, I'm watching guys that kind of half jog and pretend they're running into each other, but people get excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about spring training is that there's a game every day.
Yep.
And even if your team has a rare day off, there's probably a game 5 miles or 10 miles away from you, so you can go watch actual games. They don't mean anything in the standings, but it's still 9 innings, 3 up, 3 down, nothing contrived like a passing scrimmage and 7-on-7 and all these other things that football has to do to get you somewhat interested in their practices.
Is there anything weirder than the VWO, by the way? You've seen some pictures about training camp, and it's all these crazy Vikings fans that wear the horns and the big outfits, and they're knighted. Yeah, exactly. I just think that's a weird dynamic.
It is. Like I said, you literally sit there for a few minutes, you think about it, you're going, what am I watching? I'm watching a high school football practice with no pads on their lower body, but for some reason we're all excited. It's because we're going to watch Teddy Bridgewater throw the ball. It's kind of the same in spring training for a while. Like you said, there's live games, but for a while you're going, a lot of these guys on the field, I don't even know who they are at times, but...
That's what maybe some of the people just arriving here to Floyd's at the patio are like, what are we watching?
Who are these guys?
It's Twins Tuesday, and we are here live at Floyd's in the sunny patio. The clock on summer is ticking. What is State Fair? Is just a couple of weeks away.
Jeez, it is.
Hard to believe.
So we're going to be out here every Tuesday as the Twins make their run to the World Series.
All right.
Fingers crossed.
So we're going to be here all winter. And
could happen.
Into the
I heard
spring.
crickets chirping, though.
Yep.
Could happen. There could be some injuries on other teams.
So looking at the show prep notes, and Brandon had a line that was just, Irvin Santana, what the hell?
Yeah. What the hell, Brandon?
Can we get into that a little bit?
Yeah.
Can we expand on that, perhaps?
And not just Irvin Santana.
Right.
There's a lot of what the hell.
I added Phil Hughes, what the hell, and then we have a bunch more.
Phil Hughes is as big a storyline as anybody in that rotation. Suddenly running away with the most home runs given up title for the entire Major League Baseball. Right? I think he's given, 28?
Well, he's a fly ball pitcher. I mean,
Right.
that shouldn't be too much of a surprise if he keeps keeps guys off base.
James Shields is tapered off too, so I think he and Kyle Kendrick are just running away with that title in their respective leagues. For me, Santana's even more disappointing just because he's supposed to bring an element that they didn't already have, which is a guy that throws hard, got electric stuff. At times he'll be iffy, but more often than not, it's going to give you a quality start. And through 7 starts, 5.4 ERA, tons of walks, not that many strikeouts. It's like there's something in the water with the Twins that you just forget how to strike people out. I don't know what it is, and there's not a lot of people that are praising Neil Allen like they were 2 months ago.
All right, that's the story with him. And I've been on record earlier when he first came back from suspension as saying that at worst case scenario, I believe that at least Santana can be a guy that can get you deep into games. He's probably not going to shut a lot of people out. He's not going to be dominant, but he could give up the 3-run inning and then settle back in and go 7, and he hasn't. And like you said, the strikeout numbers for the entire staff are down. It seems like every time I turn on the game, a Twins hitter's down 0-2 to start his count, and the opposing team is always 2-1 or 2-0, 3-1, and great hitters counts. And
41.2 innings for Santana through 7 starts. That's less than 6 innings per start. You're getting that from guys off the streets.
Right.
He was worth the wait.
What's his K for 9 rate, and what's it been?
5.8.
And what's he historically at?
Career 7.2.
Okay.
It was 8.2 last year. He's been a high 6, low 7 guy for pretty much his entire career. A couple of blips on the radar where he's gone higher than 7.5. 5.8, though, that's bottoming out. His worst ever was 6.2 early in his career as a 23-year-old when he won 16 games in 2006. So he's not even delivering on half the promise that he should have, even as a guy who's in his age 32 season.
Yeah, it's dismal.
What the hell?
And maybe Hughes is more disappointing in that he got a really big contract extension. They ripped up the existing contract for whatever reason, and now are going to pay him just crazy money for the next 4 more seasons or 3 more seasons, and so that's disappointing too because there's no oomph. He's not striking anybody out. And he's still pounding the strike zone. I mean, nobody expected him to be as good as last year in that respect, but you pound the strike zone and give up just a ton of extra base. Actually, I tweeted this. Coming into that start, I think Phil Hughes had given up 64 extra base hits, and Mike Trout only had 54. So, I mean, that's pretty good context for how bad the guy's getting beaten up.
Yeah.
Well, in the last, month or so has been absolutely awful for him. He had the one Yankees game, the first game against the Yankees, where he shut him out for 8 innings, and everything else, it seems like, has been a complete train wreck for him.
Right.
The home run lead, giving up home runs. He was not in the lead. He was not in second place as of 2 weeks ago. He was less than 20 home runs. He's basically been giving up 2.5 home runs a game for the last 4 starts. It's been pretty bad.
Well, and that's why it was fun to be like, who would start a 1-game playoff for you with the Twins? Now you bring that question up. It's just silly to even approach the topic. But the thing with Hughes was like he's going to put you in a 3-0 hole with 2 home runs in the first or second inning.
Yeah.
And now just to even suggest that the Twins would play in a one-game playoff is, I don't know, topic to be fodder to be laughed at. But you got to think about it. I mean, he's getting a ton of money. He's supposed to be one of the Twins' top 1 or 2 starters. He's really struggling.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint a guy in that rotation right now that hasn't taken a huge step backwards. Gibson's had 2 really bad starts recently, and he was the guy, I think it was 2 weeks ago, last time you were on the show, Brandon, that we were actually kind of excited because his swing and miss rate, he had kind of started leaning on that slider a lot more, and he was getting a lot of swing and miss. The last 2 starts, I believe it is, the last one against Toronto, he's right back to giving the ball staying flat. He's not down in the zone, and he's giving up fly balls, which for him is going to be a disaster, especially at the Rogers Center.
Nobody wants to face Toronto right now.
No.
And for that to be the death knell for this Twins season, I guess you could point back to the Yankees series when Perkins blew that save with the A-Rod home run and the J.R. Murphy home run. But you'll look at that or the Blue Jays series. There's a good chance we'll pinpoint those 2 as like when we laid this team to rest.
Where the train went off the tracks.
Yep. And it's like, man, it was just like piranhas.
And
actually, to go back to '87, it's sharks in a feeding frenzy. Somebody, the Seattle Mariners, I think it was Alvin Davis, their first baseman, called the Twins that down the stretch. The Mariners came to the Metrodome, and the Twins just smoked them like 4 games in a row. And Alvin Davis is like, oh, they were like sharks in a feeding frenzy. That's the Blue Jays when teams come to Rogers Center right now.
Yep.
You don't have a prayer.
That was.
It gets worse. Marcus Stroman got on the mound today. They might have Marcus Stroman back in September working out of the bullpen too. Absolutely nasty. Can you imagine him? And if they were to somehow sign Price,
long term,
that could be. That's really the only way that you justify what you gave up.
Yeah.
Other than winning a World Series this year, which is definitely within the realm of possibility, but they're almost well, they could end up, I guess, taking the division, but they're. Especially the way they beat up on the Yankees. But that was the talker when we talked about the trade deadline was Toronto and that right-handed bat lineup. Already had a great right-handed bat lineup, and Tulowitzki's basically delivered on what they gave up for him. It's that team is going to be, if nothing else, fun to watch.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, if they can sign Price, you're looking at Price and Stroman and Aaron Sanchez next year. I think they're probably not going to bring Burley back. I think Dickey's under contract. That's a team that can be very difficult for many. And Hutchison, when he's right, is pretty decent. That's a team that could be a force in the future. The biggest question is going to be, will they flinch on their we do not give longer than 5-year deals because you'd need to sign Price.
Right.
I think they're a dark horse, though, because he seems to really be acclimating well to that team.
So maybe the Twins now have a different attitude. Maybe this players' meeting that they had today where they...
And
go, look, we've stunk it up here since July. Odds are we're not going to get a wild card at this point, boys. Let's just have fun and play.
Or there's a Herb Brooks speech.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was...
Yeah.
And we could be a bit premature in writing off this team because they could go out and win 6 in a row just as easily as they lost 6 out of 7 their last road trip. But I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
Doubt it.
I just feel like the record reflects who they are.
Yeah.
And that's just
a surprising team, but not as good a team as we saw in May and June.
Exactly. Look, a team that's right in the midst of this dog pile of just so-so teams that doesn't really differentiate itself from the Rays, from the Rangers, from even the White Sox, Indians, Tigers. I'm telling you right now, put me down. They will finish behind the Tigers. Okay. The team that waved the white flag and didn't have Miguel Cabrera for the shank of the middle of the season.
Move the beer away from Brandon. He does not get the Coors Light today.
Come on.
That was the next thing I was going to say is because we're having a little bit of a lack of questions, which anybody who's got a question, feel free to swing on up. But I was going to ask a question of these two.
There's some romance going on out there. Hey, get a room. What's going on?
Oh, jeez.
I think that's where they're going.
That is it, right?
We got a birthday party going on. We got romance going on. We need the birthday boy to come up here. We got to ask you a question.
He's got a beer coming.
Wait, do we give him a beer if we ask him a question?
Sure.
I guess.
It's his birthday. What's your name, sir?
Matt.
Matt, and you are 41?
Wow, good guess.
Yeah,
I must look it.
Your sister told me. earlier.
My younger sister.
Yes. So who do you got here at the table? You got a whole group of
I
people.
got my wife and my mother and one of my two sisters and my
Bunch of kids.
younger son and some nieces and nephews.
Nice. Some stragglers.
That's
So
right.
are you a Twins fan at all?
Actually, I really am. Big time.
So what's your reaction to what's going on since the All-Star break?
Frustrating, but unlike what I listened to a little bit the last couple of minutes, still a little hopeful.
Yeah.
Still hopeful. I
It's
think
been brutal, though, the last 16 games or more.
it has. Hard to watch, and I don't miss a lot of games, but I have a feeling the pitching staff's still going to come around.
Who?
You hope all of them.
Yeah, really.
I had hopes for Phil to pull it around the other night, and not loving it. But
are you a fan of getting Trevor May back in the rotation?
I would be very okay with that. I think as a manager, it'd be hard to drop him back into that role. I don't know what that looks like, but
Well, it's not easy from a logistics standpoint, but it would be nice to see for sure.
yeah. Well, and I read some articles about him and what it took to get into that role that he's currently doing. So going backwards again, I think it'd be hard, but
It's way harder
I'd
to
love
ramp
to
a
see
guy
it.
up. Way harder to ramp a guy up.
Yeah.
In fact, I asked Cole DeVries from the highly rated breakdown program on these same airwaves about what it would take to get him ramped up, and he couldn't go. He said basically it came from kind of a trolling Twitter person saying, why don't the Twins just throw May back in there? He'd be just fine. It's the Twins coddling him. And so I said, well, let's get a ruling from a guy who would know. And Cole said, nah, that's a huge injury risk. A guy can usually ramp up about 15 pitches per start, and so you could maybe squeeze 50 out of him this first time out, then 75, 65 and 80. So I don't know. To ramp him back up, you might have to send him back down to Rochester, to be honest with you.
But then you have to ask the question, how many innings do we need him to go compared to what we've had lately?
Right. 6, 5? 5?
That's a great question, Brandon, because you talked about that when Tyler Duffy came up, about how one of the Twins' biggest motivations for bringing Duffy up and not using May is that they didn't want it to be a bullpen
We're
game.
not going to have a bullpen
which
game.
turned into a 7-inning bullpen
And then
game.
Duffy goes 2 innings.
And Duffy's
gets
gone.
obliterated by
All right.
Jose Bautista.
Sir, before we let you go, I got to ask you a couple of questions. So is this what your birthday is? Is this the agenda then? Nice place, Floyd's. Well, what happens after this?
This is it, and go home and watch the Twins.
All right.
That's good.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well,
Happy to listen to you guys.
Happy birthday. Enjoy your Coors
That's
Light.
a-
Do you need one for your wife? No? Anyone? Coors Light? Go.
There's
Yo,
one.
there we
All
go.
right,
Your
there you
sister says hello. There you go. Happy birthday, you guys.
That's a true Twins fan when he's going to go home on his birthday and watch the floundering Twins on a Tuesday night.
and an understanding wife.
The
There you go.
recovering
All right.
Twins.
That's
The
right.
Recovering.
That's
He's
right.
optimistic.
Oh, is that-
That's
is
good.
that
to
I
know.
think we're all in recovery.
All right, wait. Oh, then let me put this into the jukebox. Hold on.
The best is yet to come, and it's
possible.
Won't it be fine?
There we go. Huh? Now are we changing our minds a little bit?
The best is
No.
yet to come.
Turn up Brandon's mic. We've already taken the beer away from him.
Once you buy a house, you suddenly become cynical, I guess.
Or sane.
Yeah, realistic might be the term.
But if they go in, if they get that shark mentality and they become the spoilers, they go, look, we've all been written off now. Let's just go out and have fun. Maybe it's been a mental thing here since July.
No, I think it's a talent thing. Unfortunately.
I still think
how come they have the talent in July? No one else was playing?
I still think it's a bottom 5 team talent-wise in the American League. I said that to Cole, and he said, I think that's being a little bit too harsh. But no, I think it's a bottom 5 team talent-wise.
In the AL or
in the AL?
In the AL, yeah. I agree. You look around, they got Suzuki at catcher.
Up the middle.
Enough said.
Up
the middle. They have no shortstop. They have a bottom 5 catcher, bottom 5 in the majors catcher.
Yes.
Dozier, All-Star, Hicks. Very good in the second half. But 2 of the 4 spots up the middle are completely non-productive.
Before we get too far down the road, too, little news item that came up. The Twins traded for Kevin Jepsen from Tampa Bay. We had talked about that. The guy they traded, one of them, Chi-Wei Hu, I believe, Korean pitcher.
Yep.
I'm not exactly sure.
Sounds Irish, but go on.
And he had a hand laceration from a mishap with a blender. So he's in the Tampa Bay
Was he putting
organization.
a firecracker in the blender?
Yeah.
Who even
Right.
knows?
I just read last night. I think it was
Florida.
their Double-A affiliate that he's pitching for. Correct?
might be right, yeah. So
and
he's-
he threw 5 innings, gave up 1 run. It was either last night or Sunday. I want to say it was last night.
He was slated to pitch Monday.
Monday. So right, it was yesterday. a
now
blender.
Now he's on the disabled list with a hand laceration due to a blender mishap.
Making margaritas.
That's what I was say. What's the Korean version of a margarita? Because whatever it was, you keep the hands out of the blender. The list of things that a GM must want to put on the contract that players are not allowed to do anymore. No fireworks. And Brandon might know, who was the player recently that cut himself? Oh, well, it wasn't a player. There's Jimmy Fallon, tore his finger off with his wedding ring.
Didn't tear it off, but almost, he caught his ring on a table. Yeah,
it's like the way that these players are injuring themselves these days.
Somebody in football punched their quarterback in the locker room this afternoon.
The Jets. Geno Smith out 6 to 10 weeks with a broken jaw.
And the guy was cut basically on the spot.
Yeah,
backup linebacker.
They showed last night and we're kind of getting into football again. It is August, but Cam Newton got in a fight with a cornerback, and they showed the stats, and this cornerback makes $1.5 million this year. Josh Norman, he's like a second, third string cornerback, and he gets in a fight with Cam Newton, who's making $32 million this season. Don't be surprised to see him on the waiver wire, to see him cut soon. You just don't fight Cam Newton, especially not when you're already kind of a nobody.
Yeah. Speaking of money matters, the fight in the Jets locker room was based on a plane ticket for $600 that was owed, get this, from Geno Smith to the teammate. This teammate that's guaranteed $78,000 salary. Geno Smith has a $3-point-some-odd million guarantee. So, for whatever reason, second-round Golden Boy, Geno Smith, owed money to one of these lesser guys, $600.
$600.
And since he hadn't paid yet, and apparently Geno Smith intended to pay it, he got sucker punched.
That makes me feel much better that starting quarterbacks also welch on their bets every once in a while. It makes me feel like I'm not that bad. Oh, I don't welch on my bets, but
we're gonna be winding up the show as always here at Floyd's in Victoria. Nice, beautiful evening. They have live music throughout the evening. We have a young lady here. On
yep,
guitar.
Hannah Ray will be playing this afternoon. Out on the patio here. She's fantastic, very talented, and looking forward to hanging around after the show.
Next week, what do the Twins need to do this week? It's kind of a tough week ahead of them.
They need to win. They need to probably take 2 or 3 from Toronto and sweep Cleveland if they want to have any chance of, steering out of the skid.
And I don't see any of that happening.
No.
We're at the point now, in my opinion, if this team goes 500 over the next week, at least people will step away from the ledge a little bit.
And stay engaged with preseason games for football.
Just don't be the dumpster fire, to borrow a term from another local angle. Don't be the dumpster fire you've been for the last 2 weeks. Try to get this thing going in the right direction. I don't think it's going to happen overnight.
No, it's not.
Keep your hands out of the blender.
That's we talked a couple weeks ago that what could possibly go wrong with this team to cause them to fall off, and we said it would take like an injury to Dozier or something awful. It really hasn't taken much. It's just kind of happened
knock on wood there.
Organically.
What is the schedule now? They play tonight?
Yeah, they got Texas in town right now. It's Kyle Gibson and Giovanni Gallardo. They're going to miss Cole Hamels, as we noted, for this series, so that's kind of a nice bonus. And then I do believe Cleveland is coming to town over the weekend. And then did you say Toronto is coming up here too?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's
it's
ugly.
Again,
and the Yankees are looming as well.
It's actually Texas until Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday is Cleveland, and then we go to Yankee Stadium the beginning of next week,
and then Baltimore.
And after we head to Baltimore, it's if you're looking for a soft spot in the schedule, you just aren't going to find one right now.
It might be the soft spot in the schedule
for other teams, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's start hooking up our performer.
All right,
guys.
Thanks, Rusty. Have a good week.
It doesn't sound like it will.
Well, we'll revisit this next week. Let's see how the players only meeting did.
All right, guys.
We'll know by then.
Thanks. Patrick Donnelly, Brandon Warren, bartender Colin. Twins Tuesday. Now we're getting set up here for our musical performance, as we like to end the show each week with live music. They have live music out here on the patio at Floyd's. You guys having a good time? We got a couple of birthdays going on, it looks like. And, of course, the wings with their special sauce, hot on the grill. What was it again?
Honey soy.
Honey soy. Tell us your name again.
My name is Hannah Ray.
Hannah, and where are you from?
Duluth, Minnesota.
I've heard of that. That's like in Canada, right?
Pretty close.
How long have you been playing music?
I've been singing my whole life. I've been playing solo for about 7 years.
You just didn't get along with the band. You said get
Actually, that's true. That's exactly what happened.
You're like, yeah, enough of you guys. I could do it myself.
Exactly.
What kind of music do you play? Oh, hey, Colin, can you help her with her headset? You're going to get bartender Colin.
Do I have to wear this?
Ear sweat on you. Well, you don't have to.
It's good luck, right?
It looks cool.
Okay, then
So-
I will.
So what kind of music do you play?
I do a lot of covers, a lot of older covers, 60s,
How
70s.
old? Oh, okay. I was
Mhm.
going to say, you're very young. So I play a lot of older, like from 2000.
Yep.
Like early Britney.
I play originals, too. I do a little bit of writing.
And when did you first decide that you were going to be a singer, songwriter, performer?
I was in choir and band all through elementary school and high school, and it was the thing that kind of got me through, so I always sort of knew that it was my thing.
Did the career bring you down to the Twin Cities from Duluth?
I actually got this gig through a guy who lives in town here. He saw me play up in Grand Marais and bought a CD, so yeah.
Sweet. And you'll be playing here tonight till when?
I will be playing here tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday.
Whoa.
6 to 9.
It's all about you this weekend.
It is.
Or this week.
And food, and great food.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Again, we're going to wrap up this Twins Tuesday with your performance this time. What song are you going to be doing for us?
This is a song that I wrote called Fold.
All right, take it away.
Darkness marks the spot where you used to live. I keep your t-shirts folded up on the stairs, and I will never run my fingers through your hair again. Time slows and my mind goes wherever it lies. Time slows and my mind goes wherever it lies. I don't wanna say goodbye. I don't wanna leave your side. And I don't wanna walk this road without you. Though it looks like what I'm gonna have to do, yeah. Time slows and my mind goes wherever it lies. Time slows and my mind goes wherever it lies. I don't wanna say goodbye. I don't wanna leave your side. I don't wanna walk this road without you. I don't wanna walk this road without you. I don't wanna walk this road without you.